So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Habari za asubuhi. Samahani, tumekunywa chai. Tuchangamke kidogo. Sawa. Asante. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And hello to all of us who are joining us online. So, this is a hybrid workshop. We have some participants who are joining us online. So it is an honor to welcome you to AgriTech4Tanzania Innovation Challenge Consultation Workshop. So it is an exciting and a bit of a cold morning here in Dar es Salaam. As different stakeholders in the Tanzania AgriTech ecosystem gather. So we are here to co-create solutions for a more inclusive, innovative, and resilient agricultural ecosystem in Tanzania. And I believe all of us here are present here because I believe we are playing a role in enabling the ecosystem here in Tanzania. My name is Wangari Kariuki. I'm an AgriTech project specialist at the CGIAR Accelerate for Impact platform. And it is a real pleasure to be your host for the day. So we're going to begin the program of the day. And to officially kick us off, I'd like to invite Ms. Claudia Zakari. She's a senior project specialist at CGIAR Accelerate for Impact platform for welcoming remarks. Welcome, Claudia.
Everyone, good morning, guests, distinguished guests. On behalf of the Alliance of Bioversity International and CIAT, one of CGIAR centers, and the Accelerate platform, we welcome you to the AgriTech4Tanzania Consultation Workshop. This event is brought to you by the Alliance of Bioversity International and CIAT, Shamba Box, Tanzania Agricultural Research Institute, TARI, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Italian Cooperation of Italy. We are truly honored to see such a diverse group with us here today. So we have government representatives, research centers, universities, development organizations, startups, investors, as well as farmer organizations. Let me begin by extending my deepest thanks to our high-level speakers who will be joining us shortly. We have representatives from the Ministry of Agriculture of Tanzania, the Italian Embassy in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania Agricultural Research Institute, the Tanzania Industry Investment Center, the Tanzania Commission for Science and Technology, the Tanzania Agricultural Development Bank, and the Agriculture Non-State Actors Forum. Your presence truly reflects our shared commitment to building a stronger, more resilient agricultural ecosystem here in Tanzania. Tanzania stands at the intersection of immense agricultural potential and the urgent need for climate resilient, tech-driven solutions. This workshop is an instrumental step in co-developing this robust innovation ecosystem, one that is truly rooted in the local realities, well connected to global investments, as well as expertise and opportunities. Today, we gather with a shared vision and clear objectives. We are looking to facilitate a multi-stakeholder dialogue, so looking at those conversations and intersections between research, entrepreneurship, and innovation. We're looking to identify priority value chains and systemic challenges that hold the biggest potential for innovation in Tanzania. We're looking to co-create a challenge framework that is aligned with the national development strategies and is driven by the needs and insights of local stakeholders like you here today. And we're looking to initiate and building strong cross-sector partnerships that can carry forward this initiative following this consultation workshop. So with that, I would like to invite to the stage, we have Seth Mukisi, who is the Managing Director of Shamba Box and co-organizer of this event. Thank you, Seth.
Yeah, Christopher is permanent secretary of Culture, the Italian ambassador, membership for CGIAR, On behalf of Shamba Box, I would like to warmly welcome you and express how proud we are for hosting this workshop. These great partners, but of course with the great support from the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. So, ladies and gentlemen, AgriTech4Tanzania Consultation Workshop is not a meeting. The starting point of national initiative to identify and accelerate early-stage science-based agri-tech solutions that aligns with Tanzania's development priorities. We are here today to co-design a challenge that will uplift Tanzanian innovators, entrepreneurs, and also support value chains like coffee, maize, horticulture, and also empower youth and women. And we aim also to promote climate smart and circular practices. And a quick look at today's agenda. We will begin with the opening and the keynote remarks, which will be followed by the high-level panel discussion. Of course, we've invited panelists from different backgrounds, so they'll be here with us. And then thereafter, we'll break into interactive breakout sessions where we will have an opportunity to interact, to discuss issues related to agriculture and how we can develop and co-design this challenge together. And later on, we'll have a panel debrief and then close the session for today with the networking of lunch. So we believe that today's discussion will shape a powerful roadmap for innovation in Tanzanian agriculture. And thank you all for being here and contributing to this initiative. Thank you, Sam, and I wish you all.
So thank you so much, Seth and Claudia, for setting the stage for this consultation workshop. So we are now going to briefly hear from some of our esteemed partners and leaders who are championing innovation and investment in Tanzania ecosystem sector. So to kick us off, please join me in welcoming Dr. Leonard Waltering from the Alliance of International Bioversity International and CIAT. Dr. Waltering is a project leader in digital inclusion at the Alliance of Bioversity and CIAT.
Thank you so much. It is indeed a difficult name, the Alliance of Bioversity International. Good morning, distinguished guests, colleagues, and partners. It's an honor to open this important consultation workshop on behalf of the Alliance. I'm just going to shorten it for the audience. And to represent our Africa Director, Dr. Wanjiru Kamal Gutenberg, as well as our country representative in Tanzania, Dr. Sylvia Kalamia. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all participants and to thank our hosts and co-organizers, including TARI, UNIDO, Shamba Box, and the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, and also especially the Deputy Permanent Secretary who is here. It's really an honor to be here with you. So the Alliance is one of the first CGIAR centers established in the 1960s in the wake of the Green Revolution, a time when improved crop breeding helped save millions of lives by increasing food production. Our headquarters are in Rome. We have more than 2,000 staff over more than 30 offices, most of which are in Africa. Our work is guided by the goal of improving food security, nutrition, and livelihoods for smallholder farming families. Our research spans consumer behavior, digital inclusion, multifunctional landscapes, agrobiodiversity, climate action, and delivering improved crop varieties. As we embark on this journey of the Ag4Tech together, it is important that you understand three things about how the Alliance operates and how you, as stakeholders, can engage with us to achieve shared goals for sustainable food systems in Tanzania and beyond. First, You have to understand that we focus on the public good. All our work is available to the public. We see ourselves as an enabler of development and commercialization for markets that are normally underserved. Second, this public good mandate allows us to be a neutral broker. As a neutral broker, we convene diverse partners to learn and address complex challenges in agri-food systems together. Third, as a public research organization, we take on strategic risks that private companies may be unable to afford, such as pioneering work around breeding of food security crops and venturing into AI and digital innovation. In doing so, we lay the groundwork for future commercial application, de-risking innovation for the private sector. In these times, where science and international development are under threat, we are proud to look back at 40 years of impactful collaboration with TARI in Tanzania. Together with TARI, 56 improved bean varieties have been released. These varieties are climate smart, nutrient dense, and tailored to market demand. As a result, national bean productivity has doubled from 0.7 tons per hectare in 2009 to 1.4 tons very recently. More than 2 million farmers have benefited directly from access to these improved seeds. Over the last 10 years, we went from 0 to 1,000 primary schools that now have high iron and high zinc beans in their school feeding programs, making a real difference in the fight against malnutrition and anemia. Over the last 10 years, we went from 0 to 15 companies engaged in bean seed multiplication. Another key area of our work in Tanzania is digital innovation. We use artificial intelligence and digital tools to collect large amounts of data directly from and with farmers, making sure that the solutions we develop truly meet their needs. I co-lead the Artemis project, which adapts advanced technologies like those that are used with drones and robots in the global south, in the global north, so that breeding programs in the global south can achieve similar results using simple push cards from 200 US$ smartphones. This technology is key for development of new crop varieties so that farmers can keep up with climate change, emerging diseases, and changing market demands. This approach has attracted the interest of leading global tech companies and is being pioneered right here, well, not right here, but right there in Arusha, here in Tanzania. In closing, I would like to thank the government of Tanzania, TARI, our international partners, and the private sector for their commitment and their collaboration. Together, we can continue to deliver research for the public good, foster innovation, and ensure that the benefits of science reach every farmer. I am pleased that the Ag4Tech program plays its brokering role in Tanzania and provides a safe space where partners can try, may fail, but at least we learn together. Thank you, and I look very much forward to a productive workshop.
Thank you so much for those opening remarks. So next on stage, I would like to welcome Dr. Sophia Kashenga. She's the Director of Technology Transfer and Partnerships at Tanzania Agricultural Research Institute. Dr. Sophia, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much. On behalf of TARI Director General, Dr. Thomas Bwana, and the entire TARI community, I would like to thank you, CIAT, for this kind of organization of the meeting. And for us, it's like food is everything, and research is on top of our agenda. From Agricultural Research Institute, we are working on 17 research institutes across the country. This is research institutes around the agroecological zone of the country. So when you look at the food in Tanzania, we are almost self-sufficient in food production. We are self-sufficient at around 128%. But When you look at the production itself, we are producing around 22.8 million metric tons. And our demand is like 17.8 million tons. So we have like excess of 5 million tons. So this is not enough for us because our population is growing very fast. When you look at the population in Tanzania, we grow at 3.2%. But when you look at the average in Africa, we grow at 2.5%. But globally, the population grows at 0.9%. So when you look at the population in Tanzania, the growth is very high. That means we need to find a way to look for more food. We don't have to be quiet on that. But if the population is growing that way, we find that there is a very serious challenge of youth employment, which is growing. And when you look at the population of Tanzania, it's like a pyramid. We have older people and a lot of youth. So we need to find technology that can attract youth, especially to engage in agriculture. The average population of Tanzania, we have is around 18 years. That is our average age. But when you look at Africa, it's 20 years. When you look to Europe, it's 40 years. So we are a young population. We need to find the technology that can help this youth to engage more in agriculture. That means that the priority has to be a lot on research agenda. But when you look at another challenge, we find that yes, we have enough food, but when you look to production itself, there is a kind of, we have climate change, fine. We are losing a lot of land. Globally, we are losing around 100 million metric tons of soil year. And in Tanzania, it's around 200,000 every year. So the production is challenged by decreasing of in farm areas. So we have those kind of challenges, but on top of that, we have a fast changing in technology. And this is why we really need to work together because there is no country which can just go in isolation. So collaboration is key in this area, especially now. So this project came in handy. At least we need that kind of collaboration today because we need to move fast and smart. So we thank you, CIAT, for this kind of Shamba Box, for this kind of initiative. We really need to co-design the thing, we need to co-create the thing, and then we need to co-implement the project so that everyone at least is on board and we go together. For us, we need to get to fact. So in this case, thank you very much, CIAT Alliance for Biodiversity. Thank you, Honorable Ambassador, for being here and the Permanent Secretary for officiating this event. But for us, TARI, we are delighted to be part and parcel of this project, and we are there. We can help anything which you want so that everybody gets the mutual benefit of the project. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sophia, for those inspiring words and for reaffirming TARI's commitment to our collaboration and advancing the agricultural sector in Tanzania. On to our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen. I am now pleased to invite Honorable Ambassador Giuseppe Sean Popola, Italian Ambassador to Tanzania. Ambassador Popola, please join me on stage.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Deputy General Secretary of Ministry of Agriculture, the UNIDO representative here in Tanzania. Ladies and gentlemen, so it's a pleasure for me to be here today. And thank you very much for inviting us to take part in this event. I congratulate with all the organizers for organizing this event. And of course, as it was mentioned at the beginning, Italy is supporting very proud with this initiative. In particular, the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Italian Development Corporation. So we're very pleased to see the results, and we hope that this will be, of course, starting point also for work together to be carried out in this very important sector. You might ask yourself, why is Italy supporting this? And I would just like to underline that, of course, we have quite important experience in agriculture, also in modernizing agriculture. And agriculture, of course, for Italy is not only about producing quality food for internal and external use, but it's also producing, of course, creating a lot of job opportunities for young people, not only for young people, for society in general. And it's really concentrating on the quality of the health for consumers. So quality, healthy food. But also agriculture, if I may add, is also about landscape and nature environment. So it's about protecting the environment and making sure that what we have on our tables reflects a sustainable and a modern and clean way of producing food. This is quite rooted in the Italian experience and Italian tradition. And for this reason, actually, Rome was chosen at the end of the Second World War as the headquarters for the United Nations Call on Agriculture. So FAO, ITER, and PAN, the World Food Programme, are based in Rome because Italy has this tradition and very careful attention to this sector, which is also related to Italian cuisine. It all goes together. It's not a coincidence so that Rome was chosen as the headquarters for the UN family in this specific crucial sector. And we're also very proud to also host in Italy Bioversity Alliance International, which is also indirectly part of this UN family that we host in Rome. Just to give you an example of how much we are careful about this sector, Italy was also chosen a few years ago to host the agency for the European Union Agency for Quality Food in Parma. Parma is a place in the north of Italy. You might know everybody Parmesan cheese and Parmesan ham. So Parma was chosen as the headquarters for the agency within the European Union that checks the quality of food. So here really we're talking about quality. And I think this is really a very important message that we need to give to the public. And we want to share this experience with Tanzania. Talking about quality and underlying quality and sustainability, of course. We are promoting this within also the G7 coordination and work. Also at the G7 that was hosted last year in Italy, in the south of Italy. There were many initiatives that were launched in this sector. We're working a lot with different agencies. In particular, I'd like to mention UNIDO, and we're pleased that UNIDO country representatives here. And we're working with UNIDO in particular for revitalizing and modernizing the coffee value chains, also hopefully also here in Tanzania. So we look forward actually to working with the Tanzanian authorities in order really to modernize and strengthen the coffee value chain also in Tanzania, together with UNIDO. We had a very, very interesting and very successful business forum in February here in Dar es Salaam. It's the fourth bilateral business forum. Actually, we discussed also about the complementarities between Italy and Tanzania in terms of agriculture. And as I said before, we have a lot of technology, we have a lot of know-how, we have a lot of experience, and of course, we want to share this with partner countries, including Tanzania. And I think that was one of the things that came out very, very clearly from the business forum. And actually, in the margins of the business forum, actually, just would like to mention an initiative that goes towards the same objective, which was promoted and implemented by the Italian Trade Agency. It's called Lab Innova. So it's an innovation laboratory that we organized involving Tanzanian companies working in the agricultural sector. And there were around 40 people for a week training And the ultimate objective was to make sure that there again, technology and know-how are shared, and that Tanzanian companies working in the agricultural sector can use this knowledge also to improve their access to Italian markets. And of course, when we talk about Italian markets, we talk about European Union markets because it's just one big market. So it's with a very concrete approach and a very pragmatic approach. And some of the companies, of the most performing companies, were actually chosen to take part in the Nut Food Fair, which is one of the largest fairs on alimentation, on food, that takes place in the north of Italy every year in May. So there were some of these Tanzanian companies that actually took part in the Nut Food big fair just a month ago, because it was at the beginning of May. So these are just some examples of what we are trying to do and we're supporting here in Tanzania. So we really appreciate that this initiative also goes exactly in the same direction. And I thank you very much, or I thank all the organizers, and I'm very pleased to see all the participants today. And we wish you very fruitful works. And of course, as I said, this is, I think, the initial phase of a long journey, I hope, to go together. And you can you can be sure that we are at the Italian Embassy and also the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs will always be very interested in supporting this initiative and also further initiatives in this sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Ambassador, for the committee that Italy and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is going to support the initiative, as it has always been. So thank you so much for that. So we are coming to close of the opening remarks. And next on stage, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to request that you join me in welcoming Dr. Stephen Justice Mindi, the Deputy Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture for the United Republic of Tanzania. Ladies and gentlemen, the Deputy Permanent Secretary.
Good morning, everyone. Habari ya asubuhi. Nawasalimu kwa jina la Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. Kazi na utu, jifunze hiyo, nzoe. Sawa. Yesu, jifunze kazi na utu. I take note and recognize the other four speakers who are in this podium. But also I recognize and appreciate the guidance from our MC. Before I go to the official notes, is in case it may be prepared for me, let me have like a free and a hearty kind of comments before I go to this holy prepared notes. As I said, I take note and I recognize well illustrated kind of comments from the other four previous speakers, who to a great extent have shown us the potential for agricultural prosperity, the potential for the agricultural sector in Tanzania, the experience that Tanzania has in the agricultural sector, but as well the need for science, technology, innovations to uplift the potential. But we have the potential. Arable land, water resources, market systems, the whole agricultural value chain, but there is a need also to have science within the agricultural production systems, the technology that needs to be embedded into this production of the agricultural produce, and the innovation as well. Now we are thinking of the artificial intelligence issues. So agriculture is a huge economic landscape in Tanzania, has the capacity to absorb all these kind of emerging potentials. But also, as the ambassador elaborated the details, the potential for collaboration. Italy and Tanzania, they have a long-standing collaboration in different sectors, including the agricultural sectors. And as you can see from there are a good number of companies, sectors working together, trying to see how they can unveil the potential of the agricultural productivity in Tanzania. But with all these kind of experiences, more than 1,000 experiences, within the Southern Hemisphere experiences, we have to take note that we also need country-specific solutions to our agricultural sector. There is no one shoe that we saw. Experiences in other very close neighboring countries can be a bit different. So we need to have a best fix the Tanzania environment, the Tanzania political arena, Tanzania geopolitical and the political economy landscapes. We have heard that the importance of the sector in improving not only the livelihood of the people, but taking on board women and youth who have been neglected for so long due to so many other social, political, social, ecological, and our traditional values in the system. So now these are the programs that we are trying to get together, to get our hands together. It's trying also to take care of the youth and women in the agricultural value chain. But as the ambassador said, the production system that we are trying to strengthen, the value chain that we are trying to strengthen, also has to go hand in hand to protect our ecosystems. So fine, we need to produce more, we need to put more in the market, we need to make sure that we uplift the youth and women from the adult poverty trap, but we must consider and reconsider deeply on the sustainability of our agricultural systems. So these are the kind of articulations from the other four business speakers. And I can tell you and assure you that the Tanzania government, and especially through my Ministry of Agriculture, we are working so hard to achieve the agricultural prosperity, but at the same time maintaining our agricultural ecosystems, but also collaborating with the different stakeholders from within the South Hemisphere, but also with our colleagues from the Northern Hemisphere to make sure that we improve the livelihood of our people through the prosperity within the agricultural sector. Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. Honorable Italian ambassador, organizers, and distinguished partners, AgriTech, startups, innovators, government officials, members of the private sector, farmers organizations, women and youth representatives, and all participants, media fraternity, good morning. It's a great honor for me to join you today as a guest of honor at this important AgriTech4Tanzania Consultation workshop. I want to thank the organizers, CGIAR Accelerate for Impact Platform, the Alliance Bioversity and CIAT, TARI, Shamba Box, UNIDO, and all other partners for bringing us together to shape the future of food systems and agriculture in Tanzania. Ladies and gentlemen, today's workshop is not just another meeting. It is a starting point, a place where government and researchers and startups, private sector, donors, farmers come together to design something so big, which is called the AgriTech4Tanzania Innovation Challenge. The initiative will help us find and improve, support homegrown science-based solutions that can improve the lives of Tanzania farmers, especially smallholders and householders. It is about not only discovery, but also strengthen the new ideas, improve the lives of them, so that we can improve the lives of Tanzania farmers, especially the smallholders and the small householders. And then our vision into this is that as the Minister of Agriculture, our job is to make sure agriculture is modern, inclusive, resilient, and participatory. Agriculture should no longer be seen as the last resort, but a sector full of opportunities, innovation, and the prosperity for our people and our landscapes. Ladies and gentlemen, under the leadership of Her Excellency President Samia Suluhu Hassan, the President of the United Republic of Tanzania, we are implementing the national program, the Minister of Agriculture, implementing several other agricultural related innovations, including the Agricultural Sector Development Program, ASDP II, and then the Agricultural Master Plan 2050, and then the Agenda 1030 Vision. These plans aim to increase productivity in the agricultural sector, add value to our crops, and they create more jobs, especially for youth and the women who have been neglected for so long in our agricultural sector. Invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, we believe agricultural technology, the AgriTech, is the future. Digital tools, data platforms, climate smart seeds, precision irrigation, soil health monitoring, and the mobile advisory services can help us grow more food, reduce post-harvest losses, access markets, and make farming profitable for the current and the next generation. I'm aware that the AgriTech4Tanzania Innovation Challenge will focus on the 5 key value chain scopes, including coffee, cashew, horticulture, pulses, maize, and the maize. But I can urge those who are in the field, don't shy away to see other emerging opportunities. Don't just stick into this agricultural value chain. There are so many other hanging fruits for the crops in the area. So when you go with the open mind, go with open heart, so that we can tap other emerging value chains in the systems. These are the crops, the cashew, the coffee, horticultural crops, the processing maize. These are crops where technology can help achieve real change, not just in production, but also in income, nutrition, and exports. The government of the United Republic of Tanzania, we have our famous PBT program. One of our greatest achievements is in the beginning of an ambitious program called ASDP, Building a Better Tomorrow. It's an initiative for youth and women in agriculture or agribusiness. This is a flagship program by the ministry that aims to support young people and women to become successful entrepreneurs. Through BBT, we are offering land and setting up block funds for youth business funds across the country, providing training, grants, and the short loan and the soft loans, creating one youth-led agribusiness in every village by 2030, and empowering the youth and women with tools, means of labor, mentorship, and access to market channels. Already youth, for the time until now, already youth groups are harvesting crops, earning incomes, and inspiring others. Some of these young innovators will become the very winners for the AgriTech4Tanzania Innovation Challenge. This is exactly the kind of connection we want to strengthen between youth, women, innovation, and the national programs. Ladies and gentlemen, thus, this workshop has clear and urgent goals. One, to listen and learn from each other, from researchers to our farmers and agribusiness leaders. To identify Tanzania the biggest agricultural challenges that need innovations. And my colleagues from TARI and other stakeholders, Mama Temu, are here. We have been in the sector, the faculty for so many years. I think we are so good in this study. We understand most of this study. And maybe also we know even the better ways, the paths to address these challenges. So let's go to the kind of innovation that will address this challenge authority. We don't need to wait the race again. Third is choose the right themes for the innovation challenge based on the value chains, technology gaps, and the farmer needs, but also the market needs. Create a strong partnership model so we can combine knowledge, funding, mentorship, policy support to scale up the good and innovative ideas. And finally, lay the groundwork for the official launch of the Innovation Challenge later this year. Ladies and gentlemen, the Minister of Agriculture fully supports the AgriTech4Tanzania initiative, and we are committed to do the following. First, supporting the Innovation Challenge design, linking successful ideas to government programs. Third is to encourage private sector and donors to co-invest in the agricultural transformation. And the last but not the least, promoting an open and inclusive ecosystem that helps innovation grow and scale up. We want to create an environment where solutions move from lab to lab, from ideas to income, and from pilot to national scale. As I come to the end of my official inauguration of this challenge, ladies and gentlemen, agriculture in Tanzania is at a turning point. We must act fast and act together. The challenges that face the sector are real, but opportunities are even greater than the challenges. Let this be a day of honest dialogue, smart ideas, and a real partnership between different sectors, between different partners in this congregation. Let us design a challenge that is truly Tanzania, a truly transformative, based on our specific condition in Tanzania. And then on behalf of the Minister of Agriculture, I declare this AgriTech4Tanzania Consultation workshop officially open, and I look forward for seeing the powerful solution that will come out of this workshop. Asanteni sana. Nawasalimu tena kwa jina la Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. Normally, when we say the meeting has been officiated, there are one people otherwise. But let me go informally. Based on my experience working with the CGIAR, I've been with the CGIAR in different countries. I'm busy, and your team, CGIAR, team, TARI, and your team. Mama Temu and the initiatives, different levels, Josephine and others. Please make sure that the design that we are going to develop this challenge tries to answer the best questions that our farmers, our markets, and the whole agricultural value chain, especially for the 5-6 blocks that I mentioned, they are real kind of design that are going to address the issues on the ground. Farmers have been away from most of the innovations that we are doing in the TARI laboratories, but now please let's get out of the boxes and work with this farmers. We have Mr. Ambassador, we have very industrious and hard working farmers in Tanzania. From a time using our hand hoe, just a hand hoe, we have managed to feed our nation. Our food security index stands around 1.8%, just largely using our hand hoe. So these farmers just need a little bit of impetus to grow, to feed, not only the East African crop, not only the Southern crop, but the African continent and the world as well. As a minister.
He's a senior researcher and consultant at UNIDO University. Dr. Mustafa, welcome. The floor is yours. Round of applause for Dr. Mustafa as he joins us on stage.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I feel honored to be here to address this important topic. So I welcome you all, ladies and gentlemen. Let's track a little journey through the transformative impact of research innovation in Tanzania and AgriTech. Looking at the breakthrough opportunities and the future of agriculture. We know that technology has become a part and parcel of our life. And agricultural technology in particular is making a revolution of our farming practices in Tanzania. And we also understand that research and innovation are key drivers of productivity, sustainability, and resilience. This presentation explores the transformative impact of the technology across the agricultural ecosystem in Tanzania. We have some key research breakthroughs that we can talk about as Tanzanians. And one is if you look, for example, of the development of over 15 climate resilient maize and rice varieties. This is just an example, which has been reported and done by TARI in 2018 and 2023. That's one of the breakthroughs you can talk about. But again, the precision in terms of farming supported by technology such as satellite data from TMA, from FAO collaborations. We also have some AI-driven soil health diagnostics, which are being deployed via platforms such as UNIDO in pilot districts. These are some of the key research breakthroughs we have. Again, in terms of innovation drivers, especially the mobile technology, mobile penetration in Tanzania is extremely very high. I was checking the data, it's almost 99%. Even though if you look at the technology in terms of internet, we're still a little bit back. So we have some mobile apps, such as Agrix, Minayo Connect, which connect over 500,000 farmers to market and inputs. We also have some drone-based monitoring for irrigation
which are being piloted in different parts of the country, for example, in Morogoro, by some organizations. We have some startup growth supported by hubs like Ifokara Innovation Space and Prospect Initiatives, etc., etc. As I hinted before, our technology adoption, especially in terms of the use of the mobile technology, particularly in the last part of the agricultural chain where we engage the market, etc., it's very hard. I don't know if you can see there. If you look at the mobile apps, it's really, really hard. And this happens especially in terms of SMS alerts, where farmers can get some alerts from TMA, from other sources regarding the weather, etc., etc. But again, some technology such as drones, soil sensors also being used by some institutions and some organizations to help our farmers. In terms of impact on productivity, the technology adopting regions, for example, if you look at the data in Kilimanjaro and Iringa, they report about 30 to 50% percentage yield increase of the products. Then you also have issues of post-harvest losses reduced by 20 to 40% by small silos and cold chain logistics. Then you also have the cases of digital credit via different platforms such as Kilimo, which has extended over 150,000 plus smallholder farmers. In terms of the startups that the AgriTech startups in the country, you can look at the statistics here. The number is increasing. If you look at the data from 2016 to 2024, you can see the changes happening very beautiful. Again, if you look at the value chain investment, you can go to the next slide where you see the value chain investment, especially in the market access and the area of production. You can see how it looks from the graph. Again, in terms of the trends in Tanzania AgriTech, some data here we have from 2015 to 2024. We have the numbers increasing, but the finance is still a bit small, but the numbers are increasing. In terms of also investment in research, we are also heading not bad. But who is funding? What are the source of research funding in the whole system we've been discussing? So it's still the same slide. Mostly the international donors, and then we have the government providing support, and the private sector doing the rest of the 25%. Again, the next slide will show you the connectivity, the rural connectivity trend. As I said from the beginning, especially the mobile technology is taking a greater role in terms of connecting the farmers to various information related to agriculture. In terms of gender, the next slide will show you gender representation in AgriTech. Still the men are doing more of it compared to the women. And the last two, I will share a little bit of the challenges. The challenges which we still have are the limited access to funding for early stage agricultural AgriTech startups. We still also have a challenge of low digital literacy, especially among the smallholder farmers, and our policies are still fragmented. We have different policies for almost some, we could say, similar things. One policy is guiding the irrigation, and then another policy is also guiding issues related to the land, and then some might be conflicting a little bit, and some also issues related to the regulatory format.
Again, we still have low involvement and interest among youth, especially in general. So, I think it was the director here who mentioned that we have a huge population of the youth in Tanzania, but not sure if we have many youth also engaged in agriculture overall. So what is the future? The last but one slide. What is the future? We still need to, no, the last but one, to strengthen our institutions in terms of the research that we are doing, our partnership as well. We need to be scaling our innovations with inclusive, gender responsive approaches. We have seen it's the men who are mostly leading in the agri business. Again, the government support and the private sector investment are key enablers in this. So to sum up, Tanzania agricultural landscape is still evolving, and there is immense opportunity for agri-tech solutions to create more food security, jobs, and better farmer incomes. With investment and support, ladies and gentlemen, such an ecosystem would flourish, driving the future of sustainable agriculture within the country. I tend to end here, and thank you very much for your esteemed attention. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mustafa, for that insightful presentation. I think we've all had an opportunity to see what are the opportunities that exist within the agricultural ecosystem. And I am glad to see that there is untapped potential for especially young people and women. And it's good to see representation of young people and women as well in the group. So we're going to move forward with the program, and we are now moving into a panel discussion. So it's a dynamic panel conversation on building inclusive value chains in Tanzania through innovation, investment, and collaboration. The panel will be moderated by the amazing and beautiful Ms. Margaret Gedi. She's the Communications and Partnerships Manager at Tanzania Startup Association. Ms. Gedi, please join me on stage, and I will pass the mic over to you to invite the panelists. So thank you. After the panel conversation, we'll have a Q&A session, and for the online participants as well. So if you have a question, feel free to type it on the chat Q&A, and we'll have the participants as well asking questions after the panel. So Margaret, I will. Just allow us a few minutes, they finish the session. As you can see, we have a very dynamic and inclusive panel. So we're going to hear from them different perspectives in regards to the work that they're going to contribute to a resilient agricultural ecosystem in Tanzania. So I'm going to invite Margaret to moderate the panel. Invite the panel.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to this important session on unlocking Tanzania AgriTech potential. My name is Margaret Gedi. I am the Communication and Membership Manager for the Tanzania Startup Association, and I'm honored to be your moderator today. Agriculture remains the cornerstone of Tanzania's economy. We are built to a future that is inclusive, climate resilient, and driven by innovation. We must look at technology, strategic partnerships, and smart investment as the way forward. The question is no longer if technology can transform our food systems, but we can harness it to create lasting value for every actor in the chain. Today's panel brings together an exciting, diverse mix of expert leaders from across the public, private, and civil society sectors. First, we have Ms. Ruth Funja, the founder of Altitude X, a pioneering technology firm at the forefront developing innovative solutions for Tanzania industry. As her perspective as a tech entrepreneur will be invaluable in understanding the ground-level challenges and opportunities of AgriTech startups. Let's give her a warm round of applause as she comes on stage. Welcome. Next, I would like to welcome Mr. Eduardo Scalco from the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO. With his deep expertise in public and private partnerships and valuable chain development, he will offer critical insights on how we can create systematic, scalable change. Welcome, Mr. Eduardo. Next, we are also privileged to have Ms. Hawabai Abdullah from the Tanzania Agricultural Development Plan as the key driver of agriculture financing in the nation. Her voice is essential to conversation around de-risking innovation and channeling capital where it is needed most. Welcome, Ms. Hawabai. Joining from the hubs, we have Geoffrey Teganamba, the CEO of Mazao Hub. Geoffrey, welcome to stage. Let's give him a warm round of applause. And finally, representing the voice of farmers and civil society, we have Mr. TARI Ikunda from the Agriculture Non-State Actors Forum himself. His work ensures that farmers, the ultimate end users of AgriTech, are not just beneficiaries, but active co-creators of innovation. Let us welcome Mr. TARI to the stage. Now let's dive in. Let's give them another round of applause to our panelists. So we will begin by looking at the foundation of innovation ecosystem itself. Ms. Rose, let's start with you. From AgriTech entrepreneurs' view, what are the most urgent needs for AgriTech startups? I'll repeat. From a tech entrepreneur's view, what are the most urgent needs for AgriTech startups?
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Rose Funja, CEO and founder of Altitude X. At Altitude X, we are purely a data company. AgriTech is one of our focus. So we use satellite data as well as drones for mapping, as well as spraying and spreading fertilizers and pesticides on it. So that's our bread and butter. So if you ask me what is the foundation as far as innovation is concerned, we've been talking about AgriTech. So for me, AgriTech, I know it could mean something else, but it means data. So data is the foundation, and it's the one thing that is very costly when it comes to innovation. As much as when you think about agriculture, we think about building up roads, which are infrastructures. We think about how are the crops moving from the farm to the actual consumers. We also need to think, when we're thinking about not only agriculture, but the technology part of it, we need to think about a platform for data, which is called a data public infrastructure. So it is as public as the way today we came here using roads. So we need to think of data as a public infrastructure in a way that if somebody needs to consume and innovate, then it's not something that is hidden. We've heard from the researcher who has been talking about several innovations and interventions, but all these are isolated. So it's not that they're not there, they are isolated. That means if today we're talking about including women and youth, if somebody has an idea today and they want to test that idea using data, again, going to the AgriTech innovation, then they have to incur a lot of costs in order to get the data. But if it was a public infrastructure, then they wouldn't have, that hurdle is removed. So for me, today, I'm actually just sitting here talking about DPI, which is the digital public infrastructure. I think it's the cornerstone of the AgriTech. In the AgriTech and in the agriculture itself, you have a lot of other players. And part of those players, everybody is in silos. I'm also sitting here as a deputy chair of a board of a microfinance that works so much into the agriculture space. One of the things that they incur a lot of cost on is verifying the farmer. So again, part of what needs to go into a DPI is farmer ID, understanding who is the farmer, where are they in that farming, and how can we support that farming, what are they doing, so that people who are doing markets, they can get ready for this farmer in their good. But that one, it's not there. It's sitting, and it's not there not because it's not available. It's sitting in silos. In my work, I do a lot of mapping before I do spraying. So I have part of that data. What could be potential is to have an infrastructure that is shared, that I can feel that if I contribute and if every other innovators and the government itself contributes data into that infrastructure, then they can actually gain out of it. And my gain could possibly be, I want to understand, I want to spray in Morogoro tomorrow. Where can I go and spray? Who is farming there? So if somebody else has the data and they've shared that data, I contribute mine and I get something out of that public infrastructure, then that's an incentive for me to do that. So, moderators, so for me, that the sharing part is what is missing in this country. And sadly, I think it's us, the locals, mostly, who are losing in that game. So if there can be a way that we can come up with a DPI and the government does contribute to that, and I think that it will create like a level playing field for every other innovator to innovate, and then we can all go forward together.
And on top of that, what key lessons from Tanzania broader innovation landscape should inform policy and investment in this sector when you're on this?
So there are a number of lessons, but today I came with a key lesson not only it's not from Tanzania by itself. I'm thinking of India to understand exactly what I'm talking about having the India. And there's a huge difference between India is 50 times bigger in population compared to Tanzania. So they've been able to do it. So that means we can do it even faster. When you look at India, 60% of their population is at a rural and agriculture based, same as Tanzania. They're also rural based, 60% of the population agriculture based. So that could be a benchmark where we can actually leverage and learn how do we go forward. They have a proper staff where you can get information about the farmer. You can understand what it's where that farmer is. That means the banking sector can just come in and serve that farmer in terms of finance. Where we're sitting here today, if I want to serve the farmers, then there are a number of keys and laws that I need to knock on in order to get that. And sometimes when it comes to land registry, I want to understand whether the farmer is farming on their own land, and that could be a collateral base. Again, there are a number of roads that they need to know for, and that creates a lot of barriers and heights up the pricing of innovating, but also doing business in the agriculture.
Thank you so much, Rose. Now on to Mr. Eduardo. From your vantage point, what would you say are the key gaps in Tanzania's AgriTech innovation pipeline from ideation to market entry?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for this invitation, the opportunity to be here. So my name is Eduardo Scarco. I work as a technical advisor at the country coordinator for the so-called ACT coffee program, which is a program financed by Italy to support the resilience and the value addition creation capacity of coffee value chain in Africa, and specifically, so it's a multi-country program covering also Tanzania. So thank you for this invitation, first of all. So it's a big question. I would say, I would start from a definition from the common discussion. Better we used to differentiate between what we call invention and innovation, where the invention is the rough idea, whereas innovation is when this idea actually finds a market, so it gets commercialized. It's not always like an automatic passage, you know, and there are several challenges or enablers, it depends how you want to see, that allows this passage, right? My humble opinion, finance is what I will not step into the policy area, so I will stick to like more technical issues, and I think again finance play a really important role on this, and I would like to link with what the other panelists were saying about the data, the role of data. Because sometimes the gap between financial supply and financial demand is not only a matter of lack of resources. Sometimes there's a disalignment of information and data that prevent the two sides to reach. So the so-called perceived risk in agriculture is something that like financial institutions see the agricultural sector as risky, but there's a big share of subjective perception on this. So what we perceive as risky is not always equal to what is objectively risky. So we as UNIDO, we are in a privileged position as a UN. We stay between potential financial suppliers and financial demand. So we are trying to facilitate this bridging between these two sides. Now, data could be one of the answers. Let's think about some financial products like insurance, parametric insurance, for instance, which is financial products that apply upon the happening of certain climate hazards, for instance. So there's a flood, meteorological data collected through satellite systems are transferred to financial suppliers, and insurance is deployed automatically. But not only data, I would say also organic dialogue as we are having here today because of the at the end of the day, we are human beings, so the sharing of experiences and information and chances like these are very important for us to bridge this gap. Perhaps around the group a cup of coffee, why not, which by the way link all of us economically as coffee producing countries and coffee consuming countries, but also culturally, because a cup of coffee is the perfect venue to discuss what we the mutual knowledge and understanding of each other. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Eduardo. Building on that, we are moving on to Godfrey. From the hub's perspective, what mechanisms are needed to ensure that the promising innovations do emerge, go beyond pilot stage and actually scale?
My name is Geoffrey, and I'm the CEO and the co-founder of myself. I would love to say very proud that I am the alumni of UNIDO tomorrow and the government. As a part of the UNIDO tomorrow youth in technology, towards the government which is sponsored the various issues where I was able to get investments. And what are we doing as a Mazao Hub? Mazao Hub, we are very practical. When we started Mazao Hub, we started by asking ourselves, are we going to get money from this? Or are we going to get grants? What type of business are we going to do? Is it for grants or is it for business? Having an app, just an app, no matter how good it is, at least farmers going to use this app. So we kept asking ourselves this question. That's when we came up with a model which we call it Take and Touch. Take and Touch model is the model which we came up with the Mazao Hub, which have enabled us to sell to farmers much more practical. And how do we do it? So firstly, we start with the technology. So we manufacture soil kits. As a Take and Touch, data-driven agronomy service provider, we manufacture soil kits. We buy some of items, equipment from China and other countries, and then we assemble it in Tanzania to collect soil data. Because you cannot provide data-driven agronomy services without starting from the soil. So that is the technology. How are you going to convince the farmer to do soil testing? That's another. So then we have the software part, which is the software and offline and online data-driven agronomy SaaS. We have actually come up with our own agronomy service delivery model. The way that it has like 60 features, which we train agronomists, we train other partners to use that app. And that software analyzes your information, provide insight for each individual farm, provide personalized agronomy guides to a farm from the live production. Now, we have the tech, the soil kit, the software, the Mazao Hub. What are we going to do with this? That's why we came up with our model, which we call touch points. We established agricultural clinics because we treat agriculture like a health sector. Agricultural clinics where a farmer can come to that clinic for soil, for agronomy. Just like how you go to a doctor, you ask him for an appointment, and the doctor can come. You are sick to your farm and they provide those services. We have been able to scale 15 dividends thanks to the government. The Minister of Agriculture has been very supportive of where we are. The Minister for Local Government has been very supportive. They have given us a loan to operate with 15 dividends. Imagine a startup being given a recommendation to operate with 15 dividends. That's not as easy as people think. But they gave us that. So with those 15 regions, we have been able to establish 15 agricultural clinics with our professional agronomists providing those services to farmers. But to be able to scale, which it comes to the question, how are we going to scale and operate agricultural clinic in the whole of the country ourselves? Because we need to pay agronomists, etc. Which is why we come up with a franchise model. We come to the agronomists, we transform them, give them the technology,
give them the software, we give them the operational model. That's how we transform them to become partners, and then they operate just like us, and we share the revenue. As I'm speaking right now, we have like 375 agricultural clinics operating in Tanzania, and the one pilot in Kakamega, Kenya, and another pilot in Rwanda, Busanza, and we are looking forward to expand. Just recently closed another 4 investment. We just closed investment. Even today, we are announcing another investment, following investment from Northern Impact Funds. So how are we be able to do that? To scale it from the pilot to business. To ask yourself this question. What am I visiting the business? Am I going to say? Because at some point, I might not blame the ecosystem. Sometimes it is us, the innovators, who sometimes we fail to see beyond what we come up with an idea. So you come up with an idea, this is what I want to do, but you should tell yourself the truth that, is this going to really make me money? If I am the farm, and when you go to the rural, if you are a farm, and the farmer doesn't have any information, if you are a farm, are you going to pay for this service? Are you going to use it? Are you going to, so how are you going to change in the way that you operate in the way they are used to operate? You don't need to come up with a new thing or copy innovations from outside. Like there are some of the software outside you can call and they use it here, but then it can't work here in Tanzania, it can't work here in Africa. So you have to find a way that the solution that will come, it has to meet, it has to be, you have to be farmer-centric, customer-centric. That is to me, if you want to go from the pilot to that. And another thing is an exposure. Most of the startups here in Tanzania are not exposed. One of the investors, not in the Impact Fund, last year, they came looking for startups to invest. They asked me, like, can you find other startups that they are doing exactly like what you're doing? So I tried to look for the other startups where they, like, you struggle, even in the association, we need to expose so many startups so that people, the investors, can be able to see them, like in whatever that they are doing. So that is an exposure. Most of the startups do not have an exposure. And another last part is, of course, being a revenue driven. You have to be revenue driven. You are going to make impact in the startup, that you have to be revenue driven, and of course, impact. But if you focus on the revenue, of course, when you are dealing with smaller farmers, which what we are doing, automatically we are making impact, but you have to see where there is money.
Yes, thank you so much. But on top of that, we all know that most of our startups are still at early stage. If you read the report by the Tanzania Startup Association, that the whole ecosystem, 66% of most startups are still at early stage. What role do you think the financial institutions can play to support the very early stage startups?
Yeah, I don't know why even I don't see anything from the information, because we are partner with them, and a part of it is to see like programs like that, the foundation, they are much more helpful, especially startups for initial projects, those early stages, because even for us when it started, we say, for example, when it started, we got the support of the government, that when the early stages, we had to investor. So there are some of the programs which we are done here. I did wish it should be practical, because at some point some of the programs are not much fruitful for me, if you ask me, especially it has to be hands-on. Look, if you are supporting that startup, you have to go very deep, like for the business, right? Whether it's really a business or not. So you have to go very deep to that startup to understand. There are a lot of programs which I wish, even if this is the program that we're expecting to have to start, I wish it has to be hands-on. Go ahead in a way that for a startup, sometimes it's not even the cash. Sometimes, I tell you. For example, for me, the money that the government paid me to go to Italy, it was more than enough for me, where I was able to get an investor from Enterprise Fund with mines. We just had the conversation. But she said, you know what? I like the idea. That was the only thing which I got. It's not grant, I didn't get grant. That was the only thing which I got. Just an exposure to meet buyers. And that from there, they invested, and now we are oversubscribed. Imagine when the investor comes to you and the other investors come, you become oversubscribed, and then who other investors are coming, they don't even want money because they will dilute you to the extent that you sell yours. So it started like that. Some of the programs have to be practical, especially when you are inviting some of the stakeholders in the investment forums. Sometimes I wish there should be key people who are going to invest, because at some point you might find people who are not going to invest. The whole forum, whenever you go to the forum, you talk to people like there is no investor. You find someone from there's a corporate guy from this, a corporate guy from this, but those lead people that will give you money are not there in those meetings. You see? But for us, we were able to get that connection because the government just did that. So the program has to be hands-on. In some of the startups, $5,000 is more than enough, for a start. And some of the startups, they just need the connection, especially the government, if can allow, like I wish if TARI are here, that there is this startup has this idea. You just need to connect it to someone like, okay, when they deliver that product to this person, to this organization. And then you close the deal to just one organization, then that's it. So there has to be hands-on, very practical. That's how I see that these early stage startups can be able to get the fund.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, back in 2013 when I was started, I also did what I got was a mentorship. I got incubated, and that's when we started the business. But one thing that was done, which I think most of the programs don't do, is once the program is ended, that's the end of it. They leave the startup wandering around. This did not happen to me. So the organization, it was a Netherlands organization that funded my incubation. They made sure that we were present in most of the conferences that we were going to talk to customers. And it's in those conferences that when we started the basic idea we had was just to measure farm bounds using handheld GPS. So all this idea transformed all the way to the extent that we ended up mapping using drones, we ended up starting to spray using drones and also doing satellite data. It's leaps and bounds. But you get that from interacting, you get that from being exposed. As Speaker here was talking about innovation and innovation, all these innovations, it's not something new, but you need to get to see what others are doing. And that's the exposure that when you get the exposure, you see that the idea that you had, it's not from heaven, it's something that somebody else has implemented somewhere. And then you have the local knowledge of how your people are doing this, then you can now customize it. So for me, how do you work with an innovator is to have a custom
a custom tailored program for every, it's not one size fits all.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rose, for that insightful discussion. Moving on to our round three. I haven't forgotten about you, Mr. Ikunda. We all know that a thriving ecosystem must be an inclusive one. So how can civil society and farmer workers contribute into shaping innovation agenda? And what practical mechanism can ensure farmers are targeted as co-creator, not just beneficiaries of the technology? Very good.
Okay. My name is Ikunda TARI, as I've been introduced. I'm the Executive Director for the Agricultural Non-State Actors Forum, and I'm glad to see some of my members in this room because ANSAF is a member-based organization that brings together different actors from across the country, including Zanzibar. And I'm also very glad to see the one who gave me this seat, my former executive director of ANSAF, Mr. Honest, is in the house. Thank you. I'm very glad to see him here. So ANSAF is bringing together the farm organization, the civil society, the private sector, the media, the researchers, for the purpose of exchange learning and experiences of what we are doing in our places, so that something which works better in one side can also be, adopted in the other side. But secondly, ANSAF is also collecting issues that affect the development of agricultural sector in Tanzania. We do research, we package the issues, and then we do policy advocacy, the so-called evidence-based policy advocacy. So now back to the question here. I'm very glad because the former speakers have already mentioned some of the issues. One of the things which I wanted to say is to have farmer-centered innovation ecosystem, whereby the issues that we are trying to look for solutions must come from the farmers. We need to know what are the needs of our farmers. We need to know what are the problems that affect our farmers. And therefore, before coming up with any innovation, we need to understand what are the farmers' needs. And therefore, the farmer organizations are in a better position to capture the issues from the farmers and then share to us for innovation work and research work. Working with farmer networks is very important to understand the issues that affect the farmers. As the former presenter said, it must be a market-based innovation that can feature the market. So if you come up with your innovative solution that is not practical in our locality, that will not work. And you cannot even sell, you cannot make business out of it. And therefore, it is important to engage the farm organizations, because the farm organizations are the ones who bring together the farmers and they understand the needs from the farmers, they understand the aspirations of the farmers and what the farmers want. So our innovation must be farmer-centered for it to be fruitful and to be marketable. But also, the role of CSO now comes in, because CSO is the bridge between the farmers and the researchers, the farmers and the market. The CSOs are there to build the capacity of the farm organizations and the farmers, to promote the technologies to the farmers, also to bring issues from the farmers. So working with the CSOs as the bridge to the farmers is also important, but also not only capacity building. CSOs can also do the policy advocacy activities. For example, on our side, we've been looking if there are policies that support the farmers to venture into new technologies and adopt the new technologies. If the policies are not there, then even if you try to come up with a technology, it can also not be adopted by the farmers. So we look the availability of the policies, that's first. If it is there, does it suffice the needs, or it is some shortfalls or some needs to be improved? Then if there's some need for improvement, we also bring them up to the policymakers for them to improve the policies. But also sometimes the policies are there and they're very good, but they're not implemented. And therefore we need to push for the implementation of the policies. And that's the role of CSOs. So the need of engaging the CSOs and the farm organizations in the cause of bringing up the right innovation, right technologies is very important. I can just mention an example. For example, when you go to the rice farmers, they always struggle to chase the birds, to scare the birds from the farms. All the time they are there, you have to be there full time, chasing the birds, scaring the birds to move from the farm. Can we not have like sensors that can be there in the farm? And when a bird comes, the sensors start shouting or bringing the noises to chase the farms. Can we come with solutions that can help farmers to reduce that burden? Because if the work is very tedious, the youth will shy away from farming. And the women as well, they will also be, tired of doing that kind of farming. So that is one. So I say that the role of farm organization is to bring the issues from the farmer, the CSOs is to do the capacity building on one side, and the policy advocacy on the other side, and also bridging the research and the users of that research work.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ikunda. Before we go to questions from the audience, our final theme is collaboration. And Mr. Eduardo, you are an expert in this. Could you share some key learnings from the public-private partnerships in your value chains like coffee, especially how you can develop cooperation or catalyst platform-based innovation models that bring multiple stakeholders together?
Thank you. Yeah. So the private public partnership is a key issue in all our approaches for value chains and for coffee specifically. I think we can see private and public as the two sides of the same coin. So having that together helps to not only to double the impact, but maybe to multiply, because I believe public can be an enabler for the private. And there are some examples for this. For instance, I can bring two maybe. One is the coffee training center, the first coffee training center established in Africa by UNIDO, always with the Italy funds. So there's a strong Italy's commitment on this sector. And this coffee training center brings together different actors, including research, academia, public support institutions, and but also private sector. So in a way, it provides services to the private sector, so through trainings. There's a cafe shop managed by a private company. And on the other side, through conferences and laboratories, research, and so on, it provides room also for the public sector. So the public sector can use the center not only to deliver services for the private, but also to showcase how the coffee sector works in both the traditional way of doing coffee, which is important and needs a strong support, but also in innovative ways of working in coffee. Like circular economy practices provide a great example of this. As you know, the coffee cherry, almost 80 to 90% of the coffee cherry is lost during the process, but there is plenty of uses you can have from this pulp. Cosmetics, gluten-free flours, fertilizers, the cascara, which is a food itself. So circular economy can be the innovative side of coffee that can be attractive to youth. Not by chance, the last G25 on coffee here in Dar es Salaam was titled "Unlocking Employment Opportunities for the Youth" by supporting the coffee value chain. So unlocking is a kind of a keyword here, and there is plenty of potential for the youth. Of course, maybe the circular economy and the innovative way of treating coffee can be more appealing. but also the traditional way has enormous opportunities for the jobs and the youth employment in the country. Another example is by the way, we are planning to establish a coffee training center also here in Tanzania, so we have just kicked off and we are looking for public engagement to get a clear direction on this initiative. On the other side, coming back to finance, that was the first topic I brought. Sometimes the public can act as a catalyst for the private finance, especially when it targets new sectors which are perceived as risky, and it can bring concessional terms, inviting then the private sector to jump in. So we are aiming at establishing a credit line for climate adaptation of coffee through the Italian Climate Fund here in Tanzania, and being these funds public because are made available by the Italy's government. They have very high concessional terms, and hopefully they will help other private institutions, CRDB, TADB, where are here today, and we hope that this can create a case then for other institutions to be convinced that there is a business case there. Last, in the coffee training center, you were mentioning small start the challenges of small enterprises and startups. Italy is famous for its fabric of very small enterprises. You might disagree with this sentence, but I repeat. Small is nice, but sometimes it's not enough. So it's important that these centers also become a place where small entrepreneurs can meet, eventually federate, or we have the consortium experience in Italy where you put in common a certain phase of your process, just a phase, not the entire entrepreneurial process. So it's important for them to connect, and it's important for us to give them spaces where they can meet and connect. Thank you.
I think he doesn't want to either. Thank you so much, Mr. Eduardo, and thank you to our panelists. The time is on our friend. We would like to continue this discussion, but if you have questions, I would like to welcome questions from the audience. I will only allow 2 questions for now because of time, but if we wish to continue the discussions, our panelists will still be around. You can approach them and have further discussions. If you wish to ask a question, I see 2 hands already.
To Gary Mensa from the AgriTech4Tanzania. The question is Mr. Kumba, and your experience with startups and really well this ecosystem. And there was a question before about the finance to support the early stage innovation. I was wondering if it's all the problem of finance, or there is also importance to complement the capital, the finance required to scale, the risk, the technology, the innovation, but also the knowledge, capacity, that somehow it's about the data, and also maybe cross-cutting collaboration with other startups. But that is missing beside that.
Can we take the other question? So when they start responding, it's just all together. Karibu.
Thank you very much. It's a great examples of innovation, and we are in the middle of innovation. And I would like to just stress one aspect is that the innovation should be more and more used not to follow the system, but to change the system, because we need to think beyond more innovation with innovation. So I think now we need more data, and you have data. And with this data, we need to know the nature and try to apply more close to nature solution. We should not spray pesticide, but we should think, okay, how nature fight the predators. And then
the parameter which is started NPK, nitrogen, and then soil moisture, soil pH, electrical conductivity. Now we are advancing our toolkit, which of course we are learning from our AgriTech, by the way, because when we started, a lot of models are there. We had it to buy it to see what is inside. That's how we developed our toolkits. So now we are going with the micro elements, boron and other small elements. But so far we have like 7 to 8 elements that we capture. And there's the lapid testing. So it's testing, you do the test, you analyze within 5 minutes, and then the agronomist starts to go to the farmer and advise the farmer based on those information in software. But the next version will be more, we expect to have even 15 to 20 parameters. So we expect to see a lot of innovations, especially now that we have the investment.
Yes, so just to wind up, thank you for the questions. I think the first question was, is it money or is it the funding or is it the capacity that the innovators need? And I think from what we had said, what we had shared is the capacity as well as the money, of course. So money, yes, to some extent, but capacity counts more than the money. If you give the money and you're not exposed enough to know what to do with the money, then it just goes down the drain. So capacity is more important. And I think we said exposure as well. We were told here about data. I started by advocating for data, having that as an infrastructure, having that as a key center. And I think biodiversity is part of that. So if we have that data, then everybody can know and understand and innovate around that. So having that as a public infrastructure, again, the DPI, it's very important. So I hope somebody gets to look at it. And like I see, it's not as if it's far-fetched. He's talking about soil data in 16 regions. You know how much data that is? It's a lot. She's talking about the biodiversity. I mean, that is available. Somebody needs to realize it and needs to give us the reason why we should contribute to that database and also what can we get out of that database. Finally, Mheshimiwa alikuwa anauliza pale kwamba ushirikishwaji kwa watu wenye ulemavu. So nafikiri tumekaa hapa tukiwa tuna discuss kuhusu innovation na uko hapa kwa ajili ya hilo. Mimi kwa kweli sijawahi kuona kipeperushi chenye nukta nundu ambacho ni kwa ajili ya kuelezea wakulima, lakini nafikiri sasa hii kama kijana, kama mtu ambaye ume experience ulemavu, unajua hiyo shida ni opportunity, ni fursa ya kujua kwamba ukija kuleta mambo ya nukta nundu, then hata watu wengine wenye innovation yao, huyu mwenyekiti ambaye anaenda kuelezea wakulima, je, aweke vipi hizo nukta nundu? I'm sure yeye hajui, lakini wewe ukija ukichanganya kutengeneza system yako ukampa API, huyu ata connect. Kwa hiyo karibu kwenye innovation. Mwisho we talked about Korea. There's a solution today. It's here in Tanzania. You need to spray. So once you spray on rice paddy,
koya does not get me it. So there's a solution, it's being completed with the government and it's passed through that. So it's available and I think the word needs to get out about it. Final. When it comes to innovation, when we're talking about youth and we're talking about women, I don't think that the next youth, today's youth, is going to be handling a farm ball on the farm. Today's youth, it's like he's in the agriculture space, but he's using sensors to learn what is on the soil. So that's the next wave of how youth are going to actually contribute to agriculture. So as much as we're thinking about it, we need to change our system. So it's not about going to the farm and taking a hoe and starting to till like our parents did and our grandparents did. It's using sensors, it's getting to drones, it's getting to copy and process and create cafes. That's also part of the agriculture space. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rose. On to Eduardo, 1 minute.
1 minute. I will start by addressing the question in Swahili, but I will reply in Italian. So no, maybe I can address Piero's question on the finance. Yes, there's a lack of capital, which is evident. World Bank estimates the gap of financing worldwide for coffee only of more than 1 billion. But it's not only that. I mean, we need also ad hoc financial products because credit is not enough. We need a set of financial instruments that guarantee insurance, which help de-risking the sector. And above all, I think we need, again, dialogue among the demand and the supply. So we need the bank to get in touch with the farmers. You were talking about customer-centric approaches, right? So they have to understand what the farmers' needs are, what they feel, what are the challenges, their goals. And so at the end of the day, dialogue creates trust. And trust is the engine of prosperity for economy, but also for human beings. Like if we trust each other, we can go beyond any obstacle. So yeah, I hope platforms like this will continue over time because for long-term challenges, we need long-term platforms discussions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Eduardo. To you, Mr. Ikonte.
Yeah. So actually, the issue of inclusivity is very key. As the man there said, people with disabilities to be considered when we are coming up with innovations and the capacity building programs. That is very key. And we understand that the government is also considering that. That's why in local government, there are some loans which are given to people with disabilities, women and youth. And therefore, that is one part of consideration. But now coming on the other side of taking care of their special needs, that is also very key. And that's why I say, when we want to come up with innovation, we need to go to the ground and understand the needs of those people who we want to innovate for. Secondly, I think we need to have multi-stakeholders governance framework, whereby a good representation of, say, farmers, private sector, government, researchers, academia, they are part of it. And the framework must be a permanent one that sits maybe every after 6 months to explore and discuss on issues which are ongoing in the ground. But the other thing which I think is also important, the issue of financing. It is true that the financial institutions are scaring to support the startups. Not only the startups, even the agricultural or growing businesses, they're also getting difficulties in getting funds from the financial institutions. So I think for the startups, it's better and important to have a local innovation fund. And this can be brought down by the government or by the development partners. And this is very important because at the local level, there are a lot of innovations that are emerging, but they don't get support, and then they die or they fall premature. So if there's an innovation fund that can support people at the ground level, at the local level, that's very, very important. Because it doesn't mean that the ideas must come from researchers alone. There are some innovative ideas that are coming from the local people at the local level that we don't get support. So the local innovation fund is very, very key to support the innovation that comes from the farmers level. So at the end, I should say, ANSAF believes innovation is not only about tools, but trust, voice, and shared ownership. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ikunda. What a powerful, engaging conversation. And it is clear that unlocking Tanzania agri-tech potential requires a bold action, but most importantly, it demands deep collaboration, inclusive innovation, and smarter financing. This marks the end of our conversation here, but we would like to continue. You can follow our panelists in the networking lunch and ask more questions. We get engaging more and more conversations. So please join me in thanking our panelists, Mr. Geoffrey, Ms. Rose, Mr. Eduardo, and Mr. Ikunda. A big warm round of applause for them.